Love Actually. What a great name for a wonderful movie that opens with the power of words spoken on 9/11. These two simple words begin a monologue at the start of a movie that is inspired by the notion that love actually is all around us, even or especially at times when we feel most alone and afraid. The phone calls of people from all different faith backgrounds who were trapped in the Twin Towers and on airplanes in the skies on 9/11 speak of love and family and the desire to be together once again, not of hate or revenge. What a fitting opening to our gathering on this night as we come together in the interfaith spirit of peace at a time when fear and faith are mingled in the Middle East and beyond. So good evening and welcome to the 11th annual Interfaith Dinner here at the George Washington University. My name is Timothy Kane and I am Associate Director for Inclusion Initiatives overseeing religious life. Once again, it is my honor to greet you all, President Knapp, Mrs. Knapp, Provost Lerman, Mrs. Lerman, Vice Provost Terry Reed, students, staff, faculty, interfaith alumni leaders, and our honored community guests as we come together to reflect upon and celebrate the power of words in our different faith traditions. So at this time, please embrace your own power of words and offer a warm GW greeting to friend and stranger at your table and at tables around you. Just take a moment now, please. This evening, we will hear from students who feel called to share their own words about what their faith means to them and how they use their words to create a sense of community and caring where all are welcome and all have a place at the table. We will also enjoy the musical talents of students who express their power of words through song and sound, who share with us personal insights into what their faith journey means to them. We'll hear from President Knapp, who has committed his administration to celebrating and supporting interfaith dialogue and understanding. Finally, we will wrap up our evening with a service project, which offers us all a tangible way to use our own power of words to support those in need, because love actually is all around us, especially tonight. So now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Jessica Hoffner, a GW junior majoring in public health and minoring in Spanish, a member of GW Hillel, and one of the interfaith student leaders who has helped organize tonight's dinner. Please welcome Jessica Hoffner.
Thank you, Timothy. Since the inception of the George Washington University Interfaith Dinner 11 years ago, it has grown from a primarily Jewish and Muslim planned event to an event that now embraces and represents the diversity and richness of our university's many faiths. I've spent a great deal of time working with other Jewish students through my affiliation with Hillel and Holla for Hunger, a new chapter which I founded 2 years ago at GW. Holla for Hunger raises money for various charities through the production and sale of Jewish challah bread. While most of our volunteers are Jewish, some are not, and it is this diversity in our organization that has helped us to succeed. Planning for this dinner was a different experience for me and proved to be very rewarding. Our group of students began planning this dinner early in the fall semester, and it was amazing for me to sit around a table with people of different religious backgrounds discussing their traditions and interests. It is this constructive coming together of people of different faiths to achieve common goals that should serve as a model for society. Before deciding the menu and music, we chose a theme to focus on, a theme that helps to illuminate, enlighten, and inspire. In the past, we've rallied around themes like light, or hope, or peace. This year, we'd like to reflect on the most common method we communicate with each other, through the use of words. Simply put, there are some estimates that put the number of languages spoken on our planet at 6,000 to 7,000, and that does not include dialects and signed communication. Words are a primary source of communication, and their significance and importance is inscribed in most religious traditions. Words and the way they are communicated can bring healing or hurt, happiness or despair, war or peace. But more relevant than just words is the power social media has given to words and the way we communicate. It was only approximately 20-some odd years ago that the average person was beginning to become associated with the internet. Prior to that, the internet was mostly reserved for academia and various government agencies. The ease of communication has never been so available to people around the world as it is now, and it is still continuing to evolve. Social networking services expand the pool of people we have the opportunity to meet to near limitless possibilities. We're no longer restricted to or rely on people in our neighborhood, place of worship, or workplace to provide the interaction we desire. Through the digital world, people have the power to speak beyond their own biological and geographical constraints. Social media has forever changed the way society works, whether it's the sharing of an idea, the communication of news, or the availability of a product or service. More than ever, tonight's theme, the power of words, holds true. This evening, we ask that you join us in reflecting on the power of words. To begin our program, please join me in welcoming Gabe Felder and Melissa Sanchez from the Jewish Student Association.
Thank you, Jessica. Going through the Jewish schooling system, be it Sunday morning Hebrew school or the Jewish day school system, as I did, one of the first mitzvot that you're taught is to not speak and to distance oneself from any form of lashon hara, literally bad speech, but it comes to include any form of gossip, mockery, or even sarcasm. The Torah is quick to reprimand those who choose to use their words for wrongdoing, biblically afflicting them with the spiritual mark of tsarat, a disease that is often mistranslated for leprosy and would isolate the gossiper and move them out of community. We are all prone to the temptations of gossip, and the Torah is not ashamed of the most important leaders of the Exodus age, Miriam and Aaron, who are punished for gossiping about their brother Moses. So important are words in Judaism that they often define the character of a man. One who engages in lashon hara is often barred from certain legal practices and is chastised heavily by their community. Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, who is known colloquially not by his commentary of Jewish legal text, the Mishnah Brura, but by his opus, Sefer Chafetz Chaim V'Shmirat HaLashon, the book for those who desire life and those who guard their speech, which dictates the laws of speech and how one must guard themselves against it. To the Chafetz Chaim, as Rabbi Kagan is known colloquially, those that desire to live a life fulfilled are hindered by acts of gossip and bad speech. The Torah says, and our rabbinic leaders comment, that the world is created through 10 ma'amarayim, sayings, meaning that us who are created in God's image have the ability to also construct worlds and destroy worlds with our speech, and therefore we have to be extremely careful in the way that we conduct ourselves. The Jewish principle of guarding one's speech is never more prevalent than in this age of diplomacy. We are a society unlike any other, priding ourselves on our ability to diplomatically solve our crises. And I pride myself to be a part of a Jewish GW community and interfaith community that speaks with care and respect, a group that rises above the norms of our juicy gossip society. May we continue to set an example as a community with consideration for all our fellow men and women, and be those that truly desire a life filled with joy and free from hate. I would like to invite Melissa Sanchez to read from Pirkei Avot, a tractate of sagely wisdom by rabbinic Talmudic era thinkers.
Thank you, Gabe. This reading is from the Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, Chapter 1, Mishnah 18. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said, "On three things the world sustained, on truth, on judgment, and on peace." As it says in Zechariah 8:16, "Speak the truth to one another, render in your gates judgments that are true and make for peace." Now I'd like to welcome to the stage two Buddhist student representatives. Stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are from the Buddhist group in GW. I'm Yueyang Zhang. I'm a master's student majoring in anthropology here. We greet you in the name of the tribal treasures of Buddhism, the Buddha, the Dharma, which is the Buddhist teaching, and the Sangha, or monastic community. We bow to our venerable monks and began our talk with their permission. First, I'll tell you a personal story. I had very little exposure to Buddhism before, but one time I saw a video in which a Buddhist monk talked about happiness and suffering. He said that happiness is already within us. The path to end our sufferings is to return to our inner self and to achieve peace. What he said was very simple and succinct, but I feel it had a profound effect on me, more than the hundreds of textbooks I've studied since primary school. These simple words were powerful because they made me reflect upon my life and use a very different attitude and view to examine and lead my life. From this example, we can see a few simple words can have a profound effect on our personal lives because they come from the heart. In Buddhism, there are many concepts expressed through words. Among the three treasures of Buddhism, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, Dharma is the collection of Buddhist writings and oral tradition, all of which are composed of words. Buddhism, like all cultural tradition, is expressed through words. And so, if we can take all the things we learn from Buddhism into practice, we will end up doing so via our own words. Buddhism asked us first to strive to improve ourselves, and then to try to have a positive effect on those around us. Moreover, a very important concept in Buddhism is mantra, a powerful word or phrase. It can have magical and transforming power, and also reflect the heart of the person who chants it. For example, many Buddhists believe in the power of saying the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. Om is the first manifestation in the form of sound consciousness, which means the sound of universe, the divinity inside of us. Mani means jewel, Padme means lotus. Hum connects these universal symbols to the individual. Chanted either out loud or silently to oneself, the mantra invokes the power of compassion. To make the mantra take effect, the foremost important thing is to have a pure, kind, and devoted heart, which is also the foremost important thing in Buddhism. One Buddhist story tells us that one old woman in a small Chinese village chanted with a sincere and devoted heart, even though she chanted the wrong words. Everyone in the temple suddenly witnessed the miraculous glow of a divine presence. The heart is more important than our formalities. Without a right heart, merely chanting a mantra cannot take effect. Based on this view, many Buddhist teachers and lay people have often been interested in and open-minded towards other spiritual traditions. Last but not least, Buddhism usually uses only a few succinct words to explore the deeper meaning of life. For example, the scripture Heart Sutra, which is one of the most powerful and important scripture in Buddhism, is composed of only 16 sentences in English. Keeping your words simple, with kindness and encouragement, or even keeping quiet, is better than being verbose but unkind. Buddhism's teaching on words also has many common grounds with other religions and philosophies. Perhaps how we say something is more important than what we say. Kind words are from our heart. So the foremost important thing is to cultivate our heart and thought towards the good. If we have a desire for harmony and unity, and to expand beyond our self-concern and empathize with others, words of kindness and power will come naturally to us. Thank you, everyone. Regarding how important the heart is in Buddhism and how it influences our words, I now welcome Michelle Yu Moqin to read 3 quotations from the 6 patriarch Huineng, the monk Han Shan, and Dhammapada respectively. Welcome.
Thank you. 不是分动，不是翻动，仁者心动. It is neither the wind nor the sail that moves, but the heart of the benevolent. 我心如明月，寒蝉清皎洁，无物可比拟，叫我如何说？我心如灯笼，点火内外红，有物可比拟，明朝日出东。My heart is like the bright moon reflecting on a cold pond, bright and clear. I cannot be called upon to say what can be compared to it. My heart is like a lantern. If the inner wick is set alight, the lantern glows red inside and out. It is like the morning sun rising from the east. And from the Dhammapada, all things have the nature of mind. Mind is the chief and takes the lead. If the mind is clear, whatever you do or say will bring happiness that will follow you, like your shadow. All this tells us, heart and mind control our behavior and speech. Kind words are from our heart. So the foremost important thing is to cultivate our heart and thought towards the good. Look within for answers rather than external pursuits. It is the human mind and heart that influences and determine all earthly affairs. We request the permission from our monks present to conclude.
Thank you, our venerable monks, and Professor Habar, Professor Baima Renjie, Wang Fei, and Ran Mitchell, who offered many valuable ideas for this speech. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sheer Madness.
She was just a girl, she expected the world, but it fell away from her reach, till she ran away in her sleep. Dreams of paradise, paradise. just a girl. She expected the world, but it fell away from her reach, and the bullets catch in her teeth. Life goes on, it gets so heavy, the wheel breaks the butterfly. Every tear a waterfall. In the night, the stormy night, she closed her eyes. In the night, the stormy night, away she flies. And dreams of paradise, paradise, paradise. Oh, dreams of paradise, paradise, paradise. And so lying underneath the stormy sky, she'd say, oh, I know the sun must set to rise. This could be paradise, paradise. Could be paradise. Oh, could be paradise. Paradise. Could be paradise. Oh, she said, oh, I know the sun must set to rise.
Good evening. My name is Dimple Mirchandani, and I'm the president of GW Ahimsa. It is often said that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, in today's day and age, words hold so much unimaginable power. They can reopen wounds that were once buried into the corners of our past. And unfortunately, the echoes of these words can reverberate much longer than expected and scar deeper than ever. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word meaning to do no harm or nonviolence. It is an important tenet of Jainism and literally means the avoidance of verbal harm, physical harm, and mental states of evil thoughts, lying, and deception. Ahimsa respects living beings as a unity and in the belief that all living things are connected. Indian leader Mohandas Gandhi used this practice through his Satyagraha, or nonviolent movement for freedom in India. Soon after, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also strongly believed in Ahimsa and used it in a form of passive resistance during the civil rights movement. These universal values and beliefs serve as the basis of today's theme. Gandhi once said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." On October 6, 2012, I am proud to say that DC, Maryland, and Virginia came together on GW's campus with over 200 volunteers and 60+ other service sites nationwide to quite literally be the change. In the DC Be the Change National Gandhi Day of Service. Volunteers cleaned up the National Mall, registered members of the community to vote, and worked with children in the temporary housing at the Homeless Children's Playtime Project, Adopt a Playroom. They also served in the Washington Youth Garden in the National Arboretum, the Rockville Nursing Home, and Lisner Louise Dickinson Hurt for senior citizens, New York Avenue Men's Emergency Shelter, a wider circle for families who need basic necessities, in their homes, and even mobilized Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in electoral and civic participation during this election season. As president of GW Ahimsa Community Service, this day of service successfully transcended barriers and rightly proved that words have the power to inspire, invigorate, and innovate for a better future. Thank you, and Monica Mehta will now tell you about Ahimsa and what it means to us.
Thank you, Dimple. The idea of Ahimsa has had a significant influence on modern thought. Mohandas Gandhi promoted the principles of Ahimsa by applying it to all spheres of his life. Ahimsa was one of the principles of his nonviolent resistance movement termed Satyagraha. Gandhi's application of Ahimsa to the political sphere influenced both Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr. Gandhi said, "True Ahimsa should mean a complete freedom from ill will and anger and hate and an overflowing love for all." Ahimsa can also be found in Patanjali's classic yoga, also known as Raja Yoga. Ahimsa is one of the 5 restraints that make up the code of conduct for practitioners of yoga. Patanjali said, "As a yogi becomes firmly grounded in Ahimsa, other people who come near will naturally lose any feelings of hostility." Today, Ahimsa serves as a foundation for meditation, yoga, and nonviolence movements that have truly revolutionized the course of history. We would now like to welcome 2 students from the Intervarsity Christian Fellowship.
Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak tonight. My name is Quinn, and I'm a member of Intervarsity Christian Fellowship. The power of our words come through the personal relationship with God that He offers each of us, through the Bible, prayer, and our communities. We believe that God is willing to constantly engage in conversation with us through these means. The words of God, coming through the Christian communities that I find myself in, encourage me daily to follow the purposes and plans that God has arranged for me. The words of my community encourage me to seek God through prayer on direction for my life, like where to study abroad and what to do after graduation. The words in Scripture and the encouragement of my community also serve to bring balance to my life so that I'm able to more fully love the people that God places around me. God offers us hope through the death and resurrection of His Son, Jesus Christ. That sacrifice 2,000 years ago allows us to have the promises that God states in His Bible, promises of a fulfilling life on earth and promises of a life after this one. We believe that God uses our words, us and our words, to love and encourage other people through His promises. God says that our words are powerful and warns us to be careful of the way we use our words, as they can affect people, both positively and negatively. God has asked us to use our words for good by loving one another and building each other up through the words of encouragement He gives us through His Bible and what He says about the people He created, everyone. Through God's grace, we are able to see people's needs, potential, and the good in them. With this insight into people's lives, God gives us the ability to encourage and love everyone through the words of His promises. Speaking the truth in love allows people to build one another up through true words of encouragement. Knowing all the truths and promises in the Bible allows us to use our words to encourage one another to pursue the lives that God has for each one of us. It is in this context that community and words become powerful and gives us the opportunity to come together and encourage one another into building each other up. I'd now like to invite Saira Thadani for a reading from the New Testament.
Thank you, Quinn. Ephesians 4, verses 15 and 16. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way, into Him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, with each part working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. Now we'd like to welcome 2 students from the Muslim Student Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Saira. My name is Raneem Rajjoub, and I'm the president of the Muslim Students Association on campus. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. This is the phrase that differentiates Muslims from non-Muslims. The power of this phrase does not come from the recitation of the words themselves, but rather from the implied meaning by the person saying them. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. This is a declaration or a promise made by someone who recites these words that not only penetrates the spiritual aspects of one's everyday life, but also their everyday interactions with the people and objects in their daily experiences. The power behind these words are directly correlated to the penetrating presence of the Quran and the Prophet's teachings in the practicing Muslim's everyday life. This requires a prerequisite of having some knowledge of the words that define our religion and how to apply them in our everyday life. In Islam, although our intentions heavily weigh into how one is judged, the power of their words, either spoken or written, are also not to be neglected. Likewise, the intentions of the words one uses is a key component for the way that we are judged by our Creator. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "A good word is a charitable act." What's easier than saying a good word? Any person can say a good word explicitly or implicitly by simply spreading a contagious smile, enjoying the joyful nuances encountered every day, and being mindfully appreciative of the blessings we've all been given. It's important to keep our intentions pure and to use the power of words for furthering the common good, rather than spreading evil. The Prophet also said, "Whoever believes in Allah in the last day should speak good things or keep silent." Similarly to what Gabe had mentioned earlier, backbiting or speaking ill of others has likely potential to earn a person severe punishment. The importance of how and when we use our words should never be underestimated and should be controlled enough to ensure that they comply with the universal teachings of doing good to others so that the good may be done to them both in this life and in the hereafter. It is imperative that we keep these lessons in our minds, especially when engaging in interfaith activities. In order for interfaith discussions to occur, the power of words should never be underestimated. Words are the basis of discussion, and good words are the foundation of strong relationships. In order to learn from one another and facilitate discussions among people of various faiths and non-faith, it's important to appreciate the power associated with words and the importance of choosing our words wisely. Each of our faiths is based upon scriptures with powerful messages compiled in writing, and therefore exemplifies the sacredness of words in each of our faith traditions. This must be kept in mind and should be applied in our lives, especially when learning about other faiths. Thank you. Now I'd like to welcome Tanvir Ahmed, the Education Chair of the Muslim Students Association, to recite a passage from the Quran.
Thank you, Raneem. I'll be reciting a passage first in Arabic, then providing an English translation and a brief explanation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. In the name of God, the most gracious and the dispenser of grace. Behold, from on high we have bestowed this divine word on the night of destiny. And what could make thee conceive what it is, that night of destiny? The night of destiny is better than 1,000 months. In hosts descend in it the angels, bearing divine inspiration by their sustainers' leave. From all evil that may happen does it make secure, until the rise of dawn. In keeping with tonight's theme, the power of words, These verses from the Quran are talking about what Muslims believe is the most powerful word, the Quran itself. Muslims consider the Quran to be the literal word of God, completely revealed on the night called the night of power or destiny. Its sending to mankind was accompanied by the descent of angels, safeguarding the eternal souls of humanity from evil. And the rise of dawn, referenced in this surah from the Quran, also contains a powerful metaphor for the power of words. Because with the power of words, we can better last the long night that is hard times and wait for the rise of dawn. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Floyd Jones, and together we are the Voice Gospel Choir. Our first section that we're going to be singing tonight is On Christ, a Solid Rock by, it's just a traditional hymn, I don't even know who it's by. Usually before we do every single performance, we actually say a prayer. We actually forgot, so please don't mind as we use our words to speak to God before the performance tonight.
That was amazing. Can we get another round of applause? Actually, in the spirit of things, let's do a little bit of exercise. Can everyone shake their hands or like this? Well, my name is Shivam Gosai, and I'm glad I shook hands with all of you. Yeah, my name is Shivam Gosai. I'm the president of GW Satyam, which is the Hindu Awareness Organization, and I'm a senior in the Elliott School of International Affairs. Beginning college, I embarked on a journey that ran parallel to my university education. The summer before college, I was introduced to an organization called Chinmaya Yuva Kendra, which is an organization dedicated to bringing spirituality, Hindu spirituality, to the dynamic youth. Although skeptical, I was convinced to my mom to go to the camp, and I went there and I was expecting to be introduced to a man who was out of touch with my generation. Instead, I was introduced to Vivek Gupta, who was a 27-year-old business school graduate who had nonetheless left business to pursue spirituality. I was amazed. I connected with him instantly, and I was incredibly inspired by his words of joy, fearlessness, and compassion. At the various spiritual retreats I attended, I was not only amazed by him, but I was amazed by the atmosphere that was built. There was a bunch of people who were committed to a non-judgmental atmosphere, who didn't care what you did or what your grades were. They were just committed to sharing values and building deeper relationships with those around us. And we all fundamentally know that, right? That our environment dictates who we are and what we think. This is the concept of satsang in Hinduism, also similar in Buddhism. The meaning of satsang is to be in the company that enables you for truth. And why you be in that company is because that company influences how you think. And this is similar to the secular ideas of peer pressure or the scientific idea of osmosis. Am I right? And this is the power of words, that it's when we are in positive atmospheres, we can become better people. And now is the time for us to build that at the George Washington University. My spiritual activities on campus led me to Timothy Kane, and there he introduced me to the Interfaith and Community Service Campus Challenge that the university is signed on to. And so I was like, wait, you're inviting me to participate in something that is exactly what satsang dictates. It's a bunch of people sharing values to do community service. Sign me up. And so thus, I'm here today with Raneem, and we are starting the Interfaith Council at the university. Along with that, I think it's time that us as students go further in sharing values, engaging each other, and doing community service on our campus. The urgency at which this is needed is amazing. There's 2 songs being sung right now. One is similar to the one we have here, where we're sharing words of love, compassion, and there's another being sung of hate and telling each other to be separate from each other. But that's not what our religion teaches us, and that's not what we should be sharing. So no matter where we go, we have the choice to either influence our environment in a positive way or allow that is negative to continue to influence us. The time is now to make a change. Anchor yourself to a safe space, searching for your values, and allow others to do the same. The world is in dire need of a larger, inclusive, safe space. And once this is established, serving others will only be a natural expression. I now invite Sumedha Jani, a fellow member of Satyam, to join me for a reading.
Thank you. Anudvegam karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaivam vanmayam tapocchate. The literal translation of this verse from the Bhagavad Gita means truthful speech, which is inoffensive to others, pleasing as well as beneficial, as well as the regular recitation of the Vedic scriptures, is declared the austerity of speech. Taken apart, Svadhyaya is declared as the austerity of speech. Sva means self, and Adhyay means study. This means we should take time to introspect and learn more about ourselves. This can be done through the studying of Vedic scriptures. In the Vedic scriptures, it is taught that God resides within all of us. Realizing that God sits within us develops a sense of self-dignity. Realizing that God is within the other develops a sense of respect. When realizing this, we can become closer to man, and man can become closer to God. For man, the other becomes our brother and not just anyone else. This is the true power of words. This is the universal truth.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Miklaszewski, and thank you for listening to me speak tonight. I know I speak for the entirety of the Newman Center when I say that we were excited to take part in tonight's event. Justyna will now begin by reading the Beatitudes.
Now when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you."
Those words hold a special place in my heart. When I was in 7th grade, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a very difficult time for my family because my mom is our rock, supportive of all that we do. I remember feeling first numb and then scared and a little alone. But during this time, I also experienced something amazing. The group of people we had been going to church with every Sunday made sure that we knew we were not alone in our sadness. Without even having to say anything, they were right there when we needed them. For a meal, someone to babysit, a hug, and a shoulder to cry on. It was during that time that I felt very connected to being Catholic. My faith was renewed, and I saw the potential of a group of people committed to do good. I realized that at least for the people around me, the words spoken in Mass on Sunday weren't just isolated to that day, but permeated into the way that they lived their lives. John begins his gospel with the following: "In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God, and God was the Word." This clearly shows how God began with words, and also that Christ in his mission started with words. But the message of the gospel is so much more than the eternal Word. It is the eternal Word coupled with action. We see this clearly in the Beatitudes, the passage Justyna just read. As Jesus blesses those in society who are downtrodden, mourning, or poor in spirit, he reminds us of the dignity of all humanity. After hearing the Beatitudes, we are compelled to seek out others who need us, with special attention to the marginalized in society. Just as the people within my parish sought out my family in our time of need, so must the Catholic Church seek out others that need help, comfort, and sympathy. We must be a force that reveals goodness, that points to a divinity beyond our existence. We, as the Catholic Church, are not alone in this mission of service. In the Torah, God compels the Israelites to open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in your land. Similarly, in the Surah 76 of the Quran, there is a command from Allah to feed the poor, the orphan, and the captives for the love of God. The words in many religious texts unite us to serve others. Together we can unify around these words, translating them into actions full of compassion. Together we can feed the hungry, give rest to the weary, and comfort those who have faced sorrow. Together we can change the world. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome the president of the George Washington University, Dr. Stephen Knapp.
Diane and I are delighted to be here for actually our 6th opportunity to participate in this annual event, which is now in its 11th year. You know, I'm often asked as I travel, not only around this country, but around the world, what's the hallmark of the George Washington University student body? What are our students really like? And I often answer with a story. It's a very simple story. When the planes fell from the sky and plunged much of the world, as well as this nation, into angst and anger, our students responded with mutual respect and dialogue and engagement. And one of the results of that, started by our students themselves, was this tradition of an interfaith dinner. It was initially our Muslim and Jewish students who got together and began to celebrate an iftar, the fast-breaking celebration at the end of each day of the holy month of Ramadan. And they broke bread together, ate kosher and halal food together, and that tradition has now spread to this broader interfaith community that we see so beautifully exemplified here this evening. The theme this evening, as you heard, is the power of words. And I think we've heard a lot of testimony about the doubleness of words, the doubleness of that power, that words can be agents of light, they can also be agents of darkness. They bring us together, they lift our souls, but they can also plunge us into violence and hatred and discord and division. You know, earlier today, just 2 floors below us in the Great Hall, we celebrated the launching of the George Washington University Global Women's Institute. Some of you may have been there this morning. We had a great turnout in the Great Hall, and it was an opportunity to launch something that I think is going to be very important to the spirit of what's being celebrated here this evening, which is our ability to address around the world issues like the issue of violence against women. I'm actually wearing a button here, which some of you may be able to see. It reads 16 days, and what that refers to is the fact that this past Sunday, November 25th, began an international campaign, which is a campaign on violence, against violence based on gender-based violence. And part of our participation in that is that our Global Women's Institute will be holding a series of symposia during this 16-day period. When I was reflecting on that this morning, I had an opportunity to speak to the assembled group about the launching of our institute. My mind turned to a heroic but tragic example in our very recent past, which is when Malala Yousafzai, you all have, I think, heard the story, who was a courageous 15-year-old Pakistani teenager who had been campaigning for the rights of women and girls to an education. Again, the power of words, to liberate them, to empower them, to give them economic freedom, to enable them to define their own lives. On October 9th, just 3 days after the interfaith, the day of service that we heard about so eloquently from Dimple and Monica just a little while ago, that was on October 6th. Well, 3 days later, on October 9th, as we know, Malala was tragically shot, very severely injured. And I think that testifies to the power of words, the very fact that, that people who are, I think, committed to the dark side of what we're talking about, of words, the power of words, wanted to silence someone who is trying to empower people with the power of words. So I think it's very fitting and appropriate this month after Malala's tragic injuries that we come together to celebrate the power of words as we are doing this evening. So I want once again to congratulate our students. You're the ones who have really brought us together for this annual period of reflection in which we can exhibit the kind of respectful dialogue, the sharing of each other's food and each other's traditions, listening to each other's music, hearing each other's deepest convictions, and do that in a spirit of engagement and respect that I think becomes an example for this community and for the wider world. So again, I congratulate and thank all of our students. And because words, of course, testify to the power of voice, we've heard a lot of music this evening as well as language. And it's now my pleasure to bring back to the stage an embodiment of that power of both words and of music, the Voice Gospel Choir. Floyd, the stage is once again yours. Ladies and gentlemen, please greet them.
For our last selection, we will be doing Song of Gratitude.
How can I say thank you for all that you've done? Sometimes thank you is just not good enough. So I'll give you my life for the rest of my life. Till you come, till you come. How can I say thank you for all that you've done? Sometimes thank you is just not good enough. So I'll give you my life for the rest of my life till you come, till you come. How can I say thank you for all that you've done? Sometimes thank you's just not good enough. So I'll give you my life for the rest of my life till you come, till you come. How can I say thank you for all that you've done? Sometimes thank you's just not good enough. So I'll give you my life for the rest of my life till you come, 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 till you come. Till you come. Till you come for me, Lord. Till you come. I said till you come for me, Lord. Please come back for me, Lord. We're waiting on you, Lord. Till you come. Till you come for me. Till you come. Till you come and comfort me, Lord.
Well, thank you, Voice Gospel Choir, and all the students who contributed this evening to make this Interfaith Dinner once again a huge success. A special thanks also to Dick Golden and our wonderful colleagues from GW University Events, who also helped make tonight's program possible. So before I offer a final benediction, let's take a few moments to complete our service project. There are greeting cards and pens on each of your tables. Thank you for sharing your own power of words by signing each card. We will then deliver these cards to community members at St. Mary's Court, and we are family. When each person at your table has signed each card, please leave them in a pile on your table to be picked up when our program is complete. So if you can sign the cards now, that would be terrific. I think we're about done. So I would like to offer a final benediction to close our evening. So please now let us bow our heads in a prayer of hope. When we lose our way and feel alone, let us hope. When we look in the mirror and do not like what we see, let us hope. When we hurt others because we ourselves have been hurt, let us hope. When our very best just doesn't seem good enough, let us hope. When we feel less than and different from the rest, let us hope. When we use our power of words to tear down rather than to build up, let us hope. And when we forgive and ask to be forgiven, let us hope. When we are called upon to act and to serve and to lead, let us hope. When we are gentle with ourselves and gently care for others, let us hope. When humility and courage and kindness guide our way, let us hope. When we love and accept others so we may love and accept ourselves, let us hope. When we give the world the gift of our own happiness, let us hope. And when we remember that love actually is all around us, let us hope. Amen. Have a great evening, and thank you so very much for coming tonight.